Right. All right. With that, we are a little bit behind on schedule, but we'll make up for that in my session in just a minute. Let's bring on Chris and Natalie. How are you two doing?
Hi, doing great. How are you?
Hey, morning.
Awesome. Well, I hope everybody here isn't too hungry. Otherwise, they're going to start ordering off of I cannot say this. La
Monarca.
Yeah, it just tongue twists for me. I'm so sorry, but yeah, I'm going to share the website here in chat, and I'm just going to let you two have a conversation around the brand and everything.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. So morning, I was expecting to have some pastries at my door or something, but that didn't happen. So that's a bit of a bummer.
Sorry, Chris.
And at Derek, I didn't get fired, so that's a good thing.
Excellent.
Yesterday, I shared a little something that I probably shouldn't have shared, so I guess I got to keep my job. But thank you for joining us. My name is Chris Snyder from Shopify. We're joined by Natalie from La Monarca. Natalie, tell us a little bit about yourself, your role. Tell us about La Monarca, what you do. Tell us about it.
Sure. I guess I'll start a little bit about the brand. So we are first and foremost a retail brand. We have 12 locations. We are La Monarca Bakery. We are a specialty Mexican bakery cafe. And I head up marketing for La Monarca. I was brought on to bring the brand online pre-pandemic because we saw a little bit of a shift in consumer behavior. So yeah, I kind of head up all of our digital business, and those are all my charters, including the CPG line.
Nice. And so since you've come on board with the company, what changes or what have you seen or what impact has your role had? I guess what was going on before you got there? What's happened since you've got there? Tell us what that's looked like.
Yeah, it's interesting how I started with them. I started around, it's going on 8 years ago now. I was brought on essentially to consult and to start their website and to kind of flesh out and mature their digital presence. So I started with content, website, and then eventually my role evolved to get into more of the digital business. So we saw that there was an opportunity online, specifically with delivery partners. So that was all my charter to get the retail vertical to be selling online. And then of course, to start the new vertical, which is our CPG line that's direct to consumer through Shopify. So that's all kind of my charter, and that's why I was brought on full-time pre-pandemic. Thankfully, we were poised to really hit the ground running online during the pandemic, and that really helped us stay afloat and thrive during the pandemic. Yeah. So
8 years ago is forever. What was their digital? What was going on digitally 8 years ago with La Monarca?
Not a ton. It was nascent. I came in and I overhauled the website. We started to really understand their brand and how it looked online and how it worked online, and then to really flex and see what we could do and diversify some of their retail products by getting a lower fixed cost vertical in, which is the CPG.
Interesting. So what does that day-to-day look like for you then, in terms of when you show up to work or when you flip open that laptop? What does that average day-to-day kind of look like for you?
Yeah, so it's very diverse. We function as a small agency for the brand, and I work with a small team of in-house designers, creatives, community managers, and also teams in India and small agencies that are specialized. So I kind of manage both. The day can start as early as 7 a.m. for my agencies in India because it's 7 p.m. there. So sometimes I have a very early day that ends very late because we also end up with meetings in the evenings. Otherwise, we do a lot of check-ins on how we performed the previous day. We start also with looking at each one of our platforms to make sure everything's firing properly, that everybody can check out, that there's no big outlying issues like, oh, hey, this page isn't working today. So that's kind of the start of the day. Then we go through and look at ads and kind of optimize, tweak those. And at the end of the day, it's more strategy about, the week to come and what worked and what's not working.
So since you're doing direct to consumer, are you working with store managers, owners, multi-unit managers? I mean, who are the decision makers in terms of making the marketing strategies and all those kinds of things?
Yeah, so it's interesting because we kind of have two objectives for my department that are segmented. So obviously we have the direct to consumer objective, and then we also have the retail objective in terms of marketing those two different verticals. So I do work directly with ownership, and we do have staff that interfaces directly with retail because it's really important for everybody to be aligned. So We have some trans-functional teams that work with the retail heads, and then I do interface with the directors of those departments as well as the owners. So
yeah, so I'm sure, going through COVID, now coming back out of COVID, all that's been pretty interesting. What has that been like in terms of affecting marketing budgets and strategies, and what are those meetings? Take us inside a little bit. What has that been like?
Yeah, so I mean, it was very interesting for us in many ways. It gave us the impetus to execute all of the digital channels that we were really interested in. Like, we had to just move forward into those. For instance, just a note, we had to get online ordering live within 3 days. So that was an all-nighter for me for 3 days as soon as we shut down. All of our budgets we shifted to this line because it was no longer an ideal experience at retail. So it didn't make sense for us to be leveraging our agencies, leveraging our ad spend and our paid media to send people to the retail locations when we knew that in this environment, the sort of tension and the stressors made it not less than ideal. So everything shifted to the CPG line, which then enabled us to scale quickly with the help, of course, of the changed consumer behavior. So everyone was captive. They only had their computers, and they were all shopping online. So it became sort of an ideal time for us to launch fully.
So you shifted your social media strategy, you shifted everything simultaneously, just like in a 3-day window, essentially?
For the most part, obviously we still had the delivery channels for the retail vertical, and we also had the new online ordering page for retail as well. So that was our owned online ordering. So that became one objective, but we were no longer doing any local ads to send people to the retail location. So that's just how it shifted. So we had more ad spend, to focus on really, really launching the CPG line.
And ownership, I mean, from the get-go, they were behind that. They understood the need for the shift.
Yeah, of course, 100%. Everyone was scrambling to try to, just redefine what we were doing and how we were spending and what the strategy was, and we shifted very quickly. So with full support. Let's
look at the other side of that coin, because ownership sometimes they get it, but building the customer base, having a customer base that moves from a retail location to suddenly I got to order online or pick up online or order online, pick up in store, or whatever that looks like. How did you build that customer base? How did you maintain it? How did you shift them from in store to online? What does that look like? What have those numbers been like? And any best practices or tips that you can share?
Yeah, so I mean, we kind of had a leg up in that arena because we had so much existing site traffic from our retail customers. And we did already start the email collection to the retail vertical directly from our POS. So we were able to contact those customers and segment them almost totally between two different URL parameters and hosts. So we used the profiles and the website traffic to then create a lookalike campaign, or lookalike campaigns, plural, of course, and build lookalikes off that audience. And also to ensure pure prospecting, we excluded Los Angeles. So it kind of became simplified in that sense that we were able to find customers outside of our, bottom of funnel, already were aware of our brand, do pure prospecting for the CPG line, and then address the retail customers with tailored commentary, product changed and what new conveniences we had to offer them. The fact that we were still open, because we were open the entire time. And even that was a challenge, just with the general thought that, oh no, all retail is closed. So that was a hurdle for us as well.
Well, you're one of the few, I think, that had kind of an omni-channel thing happening before COVID. So many kind of, COVID happened and it's like, oh God, now what do I do? And they kind of scrambled to build out this kind of piecemeal omni-channel thing. And now everyone's scrambling to figure out, what do I do with it? How do I put it all together? How do I track it? How do I manage it? And what are the next steps? How have you kind of balanced that in-store experience and online marketing? How have you brought that all together? Have you seen these trends start to shift? And what are you doing now? Like, you have this omni-channel thing happening, stores are open, people are coming back in. What's the next step with all this omni-channel that you've built?
So next steps is really, right now we're in a lull. Our product is very seasonal. So right now we've taken the time to really sit back and strategize and look at all of our different products and how to tailor our product offerings. Some of the challenges come from, how we change the value of that product on our own site to the customer, and how that is differentiated from all of the other product offerings through some of our different channels. So we are live on Amazon. We're starting with Walmart.com. So yeah, it's really been a challenge to kind of sit down and think creatively about how to tailor all of our different messaging across all of our different channels, and really to differentiate the product offering and just be as creative as possible there, and maintain, a reasonable budget for all of that as well.
Are you, just out of curiosity, have you dove into the TikTok realm and the storytelling and all of that kind of trend? Are you looking at content marketing? Where do you really find that motivation, that leverage, that traction, I guess, is what I'm looking for?
TikTok is a new platform for us. We're very interested in it. We know that they have an incentive to just get as much content in front of as many people as possible. And we're trying to leverage that sort of nascent stage that they are in, because they're not gating that content yet. They're trying to get market share. So what we're trying to do is optimize for that channel. It's been interesting. We're actually working with an intern that's provided from Facebook, and she's been assisting us with a lot of our content, a lot of our strategy. So yeah, we're definitely doubling down on that, especially in light of some of the iOS 14 updates. So we're looking to get more inbound going and sort of more content creation, which links back and funnels back into our website.
Yeah, with that iOS 14 update and some of these algorithm changes and cookieless future and all of that. I mean, what impact have you seen from that? What are you doing about that?
It's been unfortunate. We were sort of accustomed to those changes from Facebook. We got used to all the wonderful interest targeting that they had. I think it was prior to July of 2020, where we were seeing some limitations from the interest targeting that we were really seeing the ROAS from. So the first blow was kind of our multicultural affinity Hispanic market targeting, which they removed. And then we never really recaptured the ROAS from that. It was never as efficient. So I think we were habituated to having things taken from us that we were used to from Facebook. So with iOS 14, it's unfortunate. We've definitely tried to cut down on the ad spend through cost per click on that channel, Google as well, and try to restructure and look at different ways to offset some of the loss in the paid media that we've seen. So yeah, hopefully we can just really lean into other channels and not focus as much on cost per click. So I think it was timely because we were ready to, and cost per click was just so easy that maybe we were getting spoiled to it. So I think it's actually a good thing for us to diversify and to look into additional means and to leverage other platforms. So
when you start thinking about channels, Google Ads and Facebook and Instagram and SEO and email marketing, where do you see the most impact and growth coming from? I mean, maybe traditionally, but also, in the future, in these next 12 months.
Yeah, so I mean, this is going to harken back to the previous question, but it feels unfair to kind of pit them against each other because we do utilize all of them. They all have their own utility. But now email marketing has really come front and center. It was really interesting to hear the previous talk and just sit down and really look at Constant Contact and what they have to offer. But yeah, we are really kind of moving into that as our first line of marketing. Essentially, we're not as interested in cost per click right now because of iOS 14. So we're putting that on the back burner and trying to get our retention strategies really up and running, and then also our email list generation, lead generation, and what have you.
Have you used any SMS marketing, text message marketing?
It's interesting because we had a pretty mature text message marketing through our retail vertical, and we are starting to transition a little bit into that for the CPG line. So the SMS felt a little bit more comfortable for our retail products. We have a very mature list, and I think that our customers are a little bit more familiar with us. So it's not as jarring to get a text message. It feels very, it feels more appropriate because they have known us for a while. We've been selling as a retail brand for much longer. We started in 2006, so it feels a little bit more appropriate, and we've been a little bit cautious about moving into that realm for the CPG line. But it's definitely an area that we're interested in. So I think the success that we've had at retail can kind of inform how we do and what we do for SMS through the CPG line.
Yeah, I'm always interested. SMS feels a little invasive, I think, to some people, or we perceive it that way. But I think it's interesting when you start stacking it up against social media and email and other platforms and understanding some of the numbers. It doesn't really look that way sometimes, and it's growing in popularity. I think it's a lot more well received than we give it credit for across the board sometimes. I get them all the time, and I look at them. I never used to, but I look at them. So that's something, right?
Absolutely.
When we're looking at those numbers, we're talking about metrics and things. What are some metrics or numbers that you use as a kind of a North Star for success?
Right now, we're focused on building awareness. So we are really looking to get a lot of traffic into our site. So we look at our site traffic for the CPG side of the business. And for the retail side, we're also looking at, obviously, revenue is always a metric that you're worried about. And for retail, we're also interested in traffic and revenue too. And it's interesting to see how the traffic and sort of the average cost has started to change, average cart for the retail side has started to change post-pandemic. So we're really, really honed in on those metrics right now because things are evolving so quickly. And that really gives us a sense of, okay, how is the behavior changing? What do we need to focus on in terms of moving forward into the summertime and post-pandemic, Delta variant notwithstanding? So.
Yeah, I think that's the $1 million question is, what is that customer funnel or the customer journey looking like now? Where are these leaks going to be? I mean, what is it looking like for you as a consumable product? Has that customer journey or that customer funnel, I guess, is it look the same as it used to? Is it starting to change? Are you seeing leaks? And what are you doing to combat it?
Well, I mean, in terms of the CPG side, we are definitely seeing a little bit of a shift. We are competing with ourselves on Amazon a bit, so it's been a little bit trickier for us to reposition our product offering through our own site. Obviously, we're consumable, so we were kind of relying on that repeat traffic. But now what we found is that when our customers maybe go for a search, they're hit with some Amazon ads from our shopping ads. So that is a display right at the top of the search results, and we're seeing that a lot of our customers are segmented to that Amazon site. So we're kind of in that stage right now where we're fighting with ourselves over that traffic. So that's definitely been a challenge for us.
I mean, it's a relatively high quality problem, right? I mean, it could be worse.
Sure.
E-commerce has its unique challenges like that. What are some of the pain points for specifically e-commerce sales? What are some of the pain points that you're encountering around e-commerce?
Yeah, so I think we keep saying it, but obviously the loss in ROAS we've seen from iOS 14, that's been an issue. On the supply chain side, which I think not a lot of people are talking about, is there is a global supply chain issue right now. We're seeing all kinds of shortages and packaging suppliers and delays at ports. A lot of packaging for products is, many times they have either components that are made in Asia and those ports are completely slammed. There's, new sort of pandemic rushes that are happening, like new variants where they're, starting to have issues with supply chain themselves. So that's been an issue to just remain in stock and to ensure that we're able to meet the existing demand. So that sort of offsets my concern with the top line. Like, okay, we got to make sure that we can get the bags in because otherwise we don't have a product. So,
well, that kind of brings me to that next part is top line growth. I mean, if you're experiencing these kind of challenges, like what other challenges are out there that could affect that top line growth in these next couple of quarters?
Right now, and I know this is very specific to my industry, it's just we're very, very seasonal. So our products are hot. We have hot coffee, we have hot chocolate. So that's been an issue for the top line, and we're trying to be creative and reposition it as, oh, well, you can freeze the chocolate and you can cold brew the coffee. So that's been an issue with the marketing because we've had to swap out that creative and kind of swap out those keywords, look at the search volumes for hot chocolate in the summertime? What are people interested in? And also trying new ad platforms. So Pinterest has been interesting to us. It's a little bit longer of a consideration time because people go there at a higher part of the funnel. They're there to be inspired, to become aware of new products. So that's been interesting for us to kind of shift some of our spend over to different platforms where maybe it's not as far down the funnel and it takes longer to see that return.
Interesting. And what do you, in terms of like Pinterest customers and things, do you think you're going to see a different type of lifetime value of a customer? Is it a different type of customer? What do you anticipate seeing from those versus your traditional customer who knows the brand and follows you on Facebook, and that's more of the traditional model? Is it a completely different type altogether?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I think that's why we were interested in getting on those platforms, because we're trying to open up and create awareness and find new markets. Our customers that follow us on Instagram and people that are specific to like California, Los Angeles are already aware of us from our retail touch points. So those are always our easiest converting customers. That's our most efficient customer to target, to hit with our email marketing. They're frequently signed up for our email marketing. So we know that we can keep monetizing, and they're fans and they've already kind of been interested in us. So obviously, we're looking to get into new markets and to find new customers and to create awareness of a product that's pretty obscure. Our bestseller is our Café de Olla. So Café de Olla is a very, specific to Mexican culture coffee drink. It has brown sugar, it has cinnamon, and the name itself is in Spanish. So it is a learning experience for many people that are outside of, the culture. So that's an interesting thing to address. And it's interesting to market to both markets to find, what resonates with people that are outside of our traditional target. Some of the data that we get back from Google has been interesting. For instance, I'll just give you an example. Some of the search terms that were the most clicked on and sort of the best converting came out as Mexican coffee. So that's kind of been a way to conceive of what the Café de Olla is. And that's really beautiful because we love the fact that we're Mexican and we're trying to be more forward about it. So we're really, really interested in some of that research and some of that analytics from Google that come back.
Out of curiosity, do you do a certain percentage of your marketing in Spanish, or is it bilingual? Is it all in English? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, so we have some Spanish language ads that go out. It is segmented based on geography. So we just look at the different zip codes. We look at sort of the different behaviors. So each one of our stores is in such different markets that we have to tailor our strategy to those areas like completely. So we look at like the specific zip code that we reside within. So that's very important. We also are looking at Amazon Mexico. So that's a new market, and all of the product listing is, of course, in because that's the first language of Mexico. And all of the ads will be configured also in Spanish. So yes, to answer your question, absolutely, we do.
Very cool. I love those kind of unusual wins. Like when you find something like the Mexican coffee that maybe you didn't expect. Are there any other unusual successes that you can share? Maybe products that you thought was going to be a dog, or was sold really well, or a sales channel that took off but you just didn't think was going to do very well for you?
Yeah, so I love this story because we actually had I want to talk about our Mexican hot chocolate, so our Chocolate Mexicano. We had a tin going and it was kind of not optimized for sale. So we were repackaging during the pandemic. That was also a time for us to focus on optimizing each product for sales online and store. And sort of doing research and positioning those products differently. So the Mexican hot chocolate was already selling and it was in a small tin. We were very shocked by how the redesign took off and absolutely just became our number one seller, of course, during the holiday season. But still, it was really phenomenal to see that it outsold our flagship Café de Olla and became the front runner. So it made us very interested in sort of the fame of that product and sort of the existing demand that it has. And I think because we really researched and surveyed our audience and found that there was an interest and a need for a Mexican hot chocolate that was positioned in a premium segment, that we really posed in that segment. And there was a demand. So we really were differentiated from the Abuelitas and the Ibarras of the world. We didn't need to compete with them in a pricing strategy because we were so differentiated, and we became a different value to the customer. We became a gift. We got the feedback that they liked to see us on the counter. So that was really wonderful to see, and it kind of maybe gave us some pause about like, oh wow, what else can we do with some of the other products? So.
Yeah, I mean, how do you determine, you have in person, you have online, like how do you determine your target audience? How do you audit that versus your actual converted customer when you have so many different touch points with an omnichannel strategy? How do you kind of bring that all together and get a true sense of who they are?
Yeah, it's a bit of a dance. We go through, and we obviously, I mentioned that we had the existing searches and the existing data from our Pixel that was recording our retail traffic. And then we found that using Google Analytics, we were able to suss out exactly who those customers were, build their profiles out, and then use lookalike audiences to create the new customer groups from our converting customers. So using value-based conversions to find profiles that were more likely to convert on the CPG site, because they ended up being a different customer, similar but definitely different for many respects. So that was kind of one way, just leveraging Facebook's ad platform, Google Analytics, to really help, us decide who the customer was. And that was a dance between, us sizing the markets, looking at existing searches, understanding what our customer base was historically, and sort of finding that compromise and that middle ground of who we needed to target and going after that.
And I guess finally, how, as a larger brand, as a growing brand, how do you build trust in a community, especially a demographic which, let's be honest, there's gentrification issues around Los Angeles, and there's, trust issues and some of that. How do you build trust in a community as you're growing and scaling and stay authentic and all those kinds of cool things?
This is definitely an interesting question, because I think that even though we have 12 locations, we're still seen as that, first flagship store in Huntington Park. We started in 2006. Our owners are, they're wonderful people. They are from Mexico. We support Mexican coffee growers. So like our beans are fair trade, single origin from Oaxaca. We also are a mission-driven, people-first brand. So 1% of our proceeds from the CPG line is actually donated back to our partners, Ecolife Conservation, which they actually have a monarch butterfly conservation program that runs in Michoacan, Mexico. So that, I don't know if you can have any more authenticity than actually giving back to cause for a threatened species. Or they were previously threatened. They have all of the criteria to be threatened, but they were bumped off the list because there's also other species, but they're still, the numbers are dwindling due to many reasons. So the other piece of that is that we are, popping up in some of the poorest zip codes, and we hire from within the community our teams, and we make a lot of, we focus a lot on developing our staff and giving them opportunities. And I think that that's really important. And I think that that resonates with our community. The other piece, not to drone on, is we were also partnered with large organizations like the University of Southern California in 2019. We held serialized events for free that were meant to address issues within the community. So we had, for instance, Google en Español, which was a sort of introduction to Google Analytics and Google advertising for people within the community that was taught in Spanish. And we hosted that for free and offered free pan dulce. So we become sort of this community space and meeting ground to help expose everyone to new ideas and to new tech, and offer it in a language that's accessible to them. So I think that all of those things contribute to making us very authentic, and I think that resonates with our audiences and with our community.
And that's the kind of story that I guess we mentioned earlier. That's the kind of storytelling and content that's great for social media. Then it all kind of brings back together a little bit.
Absolutely.
What's next for La Monarca? I mean, what's next for the business? What's future plans? What exciting news is on the radar?
So next is we are redeveloping the website. We are redefining our product, and we're actually launching the first iteration this week. We're debugging, so please don't criticize. So this week we are coming up with some new conversion rate optimization, which is very exciting. And then shortly we will have a new product that hopefully will be subscription based, but if not, will just be a nice landed price set for sale. So we're going to focus on sets, and I think that very excited to launch shortly. So
nice. Well, I'll put in a little plug for Derek, but if you need any kind of apps or tools, he is the man to help bring that stuff together. He's probably the most knowledgeable dude I know in terms of like finding the right magical tool from out of some mystical toolbox to put it all together. He finds these things that I've never heard of, and they're amazing stuff.
Thanks for the plug, Chris. Natalie, on that note, you mentioned cause marketing. Have you ever experimented with like a cause marketing app or something? Get your customers involved in giving back, because I know you said 1% of your proceeds, but also bringing them into the equation.
Well, we use that in all of our copy, and I think that was part of the thing that helped differentiate us and sort of fight the price sensitivity, because people do appreciate that their dollar is going to, from the purchase of the consumer packaged good going to the monarch butterfly. So I think that they are just happy knowing and very present for copy on all of our product listings. So yeah, but we can talk more. Absolutely, I'd love to chat, and maybe we can set up a time. So
yeah. For sure. Sorry to hijack the conversation, Chris.
No, it's why I brought you in, man. You, in terms of that stuff, you are the dude. That's your wheelhouse right there.
Yeah, for sure. Perfect. Awesome. Any final questions, Chris?
No. Any questions from the audience or anyone that wants to pick Natalie's brain about anything?
I think, Natalie, what you've accomplished is amazing. It was great hearing the story. Of course, connecting with the community and giving back is also something we look to promote as much as possible with the events that we do. So it was great to have you both on. Thanks so much.
Pleasure.
Thank you so much.
We're moving right into the next session because we are a little bit behind, and I'll just drop a quick line about all the tools and stuff in my session coming up. We will let you two take off. Thanks so much, and looking forward to seeing you guys again in the future.